Hey, what's going on? Welcome to the Doug Show. This is the live version. So this is the live stream we do. And I have my good friend, Matt Giovanisci. How's it going today?
Good.
Today, we're going to talk about why someone would shut down a six-figure business. And it's kind of a new thing. And Matt shut down a six-figure business. So we're going to get into some of the details here and just kind of shoot the shit.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of people on the live stream. We're going to answer some questions and we're going to actually have a pretty decent conversation, and you're not distracted by all the commenters here, but I will be. So please ask questions if you're watching later over on the the recorded version. You could leave comments and all that stuff. So Matt, you've been on several times. Most recently, you were promoting a thing that you shut down.
Yeah.
For the people that don't know you at all, who are you? What do you do? What do you spend your time doing?
People would know me from Money Lab here, but my main gig has always been I run a site called Swim University, and I teach people how to take care of their pools and hot tubs on the internet. And I've been doing that since 2006, and then I've done other projects here and there. I've done software companies, WordPress plugins. I got a theme. I've done home brewing stuff, content. So yeah, kind of all over the place. But yeah, my main gig has always been Swim University.
Okay, Renaissance man is what some people call it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
You'll take that. You like smoking meat too? I was just showing you a brisket.
Yes, I've been smoking meats this past year, and
yeah. So we have a lot of overlapping interests.
Yeah.
And you've been on a ton of shows. You've been on like Smart Passive Income, Niche Pursuits. You've been on my show a handful of times.
Yeah, just did Pat Flynn's again.
Cool.
Recently.
Awesome.
It's not coming out for a while, but yeah.
Okay, what'd you talk about if you could share?
My tweets.
Okay.
He handpicked tweets that he liked from me, and we discussed the origin behind them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. And we're actually going to talk a little bit about Twitter. And if you scoot your chair just over, like it helps. It's, if it extends too far out, we're having some technical difficulties. I need to get a better table here, but usually I tell people to scoot in, but I forgot to tell you earlier. Are you going to be able to?
Yeah, I'm good.
You're good to go?
Yeah.
All right.
I started leaning towards me, and I'm like, whoa.
That's not good. Yeah. Is it pretty secure? It may fall off if we're not too careful.
I feel like it's moving.
It probably is. Okay, keep talking. Fill the air. I'll work on it.
All right. What was the question? Oh yeah. So we talked about my tweets, which that'll be coming out soon, and I am. As you mentioned, kind of in the beginning, I am shutting down temporarily. Pausing a long-running business since 2016 to focus on my other business. So to create a simplified life. Yeah. Got it. So yeah. I'm sure there's people who are going to ask some questions, but the business that I'm shutting down, just to be very clear with people, there you go. That feels lock solid now.
Yeah.
Cool.
Don't pull it back out. Scoot in just a hair.
Oh, scoot in this way.
Yeah.
Got it. Got it. All right. So yeah, the business that I'm shutting down is Money Lab.
All right. And has this been announced widely?
No.
Okay. So Money Lab is essentially it's like a set of courses and a community and a couple other resources as well.
Yeah, it was. I always considered it my personal hub and a favorite place to work. I've always liked it. So I'm shutting down something that I truly love and care about. It's like the idea of killing your darlings very much is what I'm doing. In the pursuit of a couple of different things that have occurred over the course of the last couple months, of like simplification of my life personally and a concentration or a distillation of my work energy, my online work energy, towards something that actually, makes a like significant more amount of money than the business that I'm shutting down. So I am in a, yeah. So and we can go into like shiny object syndrome, because that's certainly where this came from. You know, like Money Lab and Brewcab and all these other ventures that I've started have all been byproducts of shiny object, or a result of me having the classic shiny object syndrome, where I get very bored at the thing that I'm doing, which people have pointed out to me even with shutting this down. It's like, you know, you've always refocused on Swim University to eventually get burned out, or like bored, I should say, not burned out. I never feel like, oh, I'm so tired. It's like, I'm bored and I want to go do something else. So like, when are you going to do that other thing? And I'm like, well, I've replaced those other things with more real life things. And we can go into all the reasons that I shut it down, but, the fact that I was able to, and when I say shut down, like, it's not that the content that's on the site is going away or the YouTube channel is going away. It's just like, I'm just kind of not going to post.
So it's like a sabbatical.
I don't think I'll ever go back, but I just don't want to be in this space anymore.
Gotcha. Okay, so if you
think
I'll
explain that too.
Yeah. Well, and we've talked a lot about it, both, recording here and, off the record. So those are private conversations. I won't share those exactly, but you were very interested in doing more and going all in. Like,
yes.
You built out your studio this year.
Mm-hmm.
You spent a huge amount of money, even more time.
Mm-hmm.
You'll never get it back.
Mm-hmm.
And you were building out systems, working with your team, which is, family and your lovely fiance.
Mm-hmm.
And then I saw an email from you. Looked like clickbait,
The end.
The end. And I'm like, he's using ChatGPT again.
Yep.
Again. This guy loves AI.
Write me the most clickbaity subject line you can and give me 10 results.
Yeah. So I opened it and I was like,
Yeah.
oh, this looks legit. And then, you recorded a video for the community. Now you're announcing that you're not actively doing anymore, and you're kind of shutting down the community and everything, right?
The community is shutting down because those are paying members, and I don't want to, just ghost people. But that's like the I'm probably gonna take down the courses too. At some point, I have until September. So if you want them, you can get them, and they'll be available forever if you do get them. But I'm basically. I'm getting out of the, I guess, entrepreneurial teaching space.
Okay. One of the comments that I saw was about how people really appreciated you as a teacher.
Yeah.
And I think you like to do it.
Yes.
So why are you trying to get out of it? Because it seems like you do like to do it.
Yeah. Well, I do. So here's where it here's how it started. The plan was I was like, all right, Swim University is kind of taken care of, right? I have a small team. It's just me, my brother, and my fiance, and they're going to just take care of that. That business more than pays for the bills. Like, that is my business. And the entire time I'm like, I'm out, I want to, and I was like, I want to sell it. I want to, we'll scale it and sell it, but I don't really want to work on it that much. And what I'd rather do, and I think the future is, teaching doing online education on teaching people how to build a business, because I've seen so many people do that. Transition from hey, I have this business, it's not really working, so then I'm going to teach, whatever. But in mine's the reverse, where no, my thing's really working, and I'm choosing to actively teach it and making less money at doing that than I am at doing my actual thing. But I was okay with that, right? And I'm like, oh, I'm just going to do Money Lab and Brew Cab, and those are going to be my two things. And then I a lot of series of events happened, some that I can't discuss publicly. But I got sort of this wave of something ain't right in this space. And obviously I'm on Twitter a lot, and so it came from that, but it came from some private conversations that I had with some people, and which about private conversations that I've had with you. And I'm just like, this does feel like we're entering, and I kept saying this too, and I don't want to shit on the industry 100% because it's like it's not really the reason I'm leaving, but like it sort of like nudged me a couple of times where I was watching, like these, pieces on John Oliver and The Daily Show about like scammer culture, and I'm like, dude, I'm 1 degree away from this. Like, I know personally that I'm not these scammers, but Andrew Tate teaches affiliate marketing too. You know what I mean? And I'm just like, ooh, I don't like being in the same fucking category as him. And so that wasn't the reason for leaving, but I just started to see a lot of like the rise of just money hungry entrepreneurs bragging about money. And then I started doing it because that's how you sell courses, right? It's like, hey, I'm going to show you how to make money on YouTube because guess what? I make money on YouTube. And they're like, yeah, but how much, Matt? I'm like, oh, now I have to tell you how much. So here's how much. And they're like, oh, now you're just bragging. And I'm like, but you asked how much,
Yeah.
So one day, so like all of those things were happening, but I was still completely like on board. I'm like, I'm going to be the different person. Like I'm going to be the person who teaches.
You're going to save it from within.
Yeah. I'm just going to do my, I'm going to be Ron Swanson. I'm going to just like tear down the system from within. But like, I just thought I'm going to be one of those people that, again, I've always been, it's a terrible sales tactic, but I'm the person it's like, oh no, he's genuine about, and authentic. And it's like, yes. And then I watched a lot of, this is a while ago. I watched a lot of entrepreneurs who I liked, who built legit businesses, teaching entrepreneurship, just switch to crypto. Like just Twitter accounts just went, I'm crypto now. And I'm like, you were never in this to help people. You were only in this to help yourself the whole time. Because that's all crypto ever was. And then obviously that tanked. And then you just, the silence of like, no one talks about crypto anymore. And then, or NFTs, that was a big thing too. But then ChatGPT came out. And again, we've been using a version of ChatGPT for years, right? Like Jasper's been around for a minute. And so like we all knew the power of AI, but the world got introduced to it with ChatGPT and how popular that was and how free it was, right? Where the other one we had to pay for. $100 a year or whatever it was at the time. All of a sudden, I noticed that every single conversation that I was having in the community, and not even the community, I won't even, but like every single conversation I was having on Twitter and every question was like, ChatGPT, how do I use this to grow? How do I use this to like my benefit? And I just went, I don't like this. I don't want to teach this, because it's like, well, then I'm no different. Like I can't do anything different. I'm like, well, here's a list of prompts, I guess. But like, I can't be authentic about that. I can't be unique about that. I'm just doing what everybody else is doing because that's what everybody wants to learn. So I just went, and again, nothing against ChatGPT. Use it every day.
And if you want any tips, I have a cheat sheet.
Yeah.
And there's other videos you could watch.
I'm probably going to download it.
Yeah.
Like I use it every day, and it has nothing to do. It wasn't about like, I wasn't like eye rolly at using it. I was eye rolly at the people trying to take advantage of it in like, hey, I'm going to scale very quickly with this. And like, I'm going to change directions and I'm going to do all this stuff. And I just went, I don't want to do this, but that wasn't the real reason. The real reason of shutting it down was obviously this was nudging me that way. But for so long, I just had the thought of, I'm going to let some university coast, meanwhile, making the most money, like just insane amounts of money. And I'm going to go focus on these other two businesses, which make an insane amount of money. 100,000 is it's nothing. But compared to this, it's nothing. It's a tenth. So like I'm like, I'm going to go over here and work by myself on these two things and grow them. And like, so that way we have three things. And then one day I was just sitting there and I'm like, I don't even remember, nothing prompted it, but I just went, wait, what if I flipped that? Like, I'm like, what if I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
I'm sitting here like leaving my team out to dry over at some university for, like no pun intended. and then I'm going to go do these other two things and have to scale these businesses basically starting from scratch all by myself. Or I could take that power that I would put towards these two brands and go, wait a minute, what if these didn't exist and we all three of us just worked on this one thing? And like, how much could I scale it? And then I started, and that came from like this I keep hearing this, and I heard it a lot because I watched a lot of Alex Hormozi, right? You know who I'm talking about?
I've seen a couple of videos.
Yeah. So I kept hearing him, say, watching shorts or whatever, just going like, do one thing. Like, just do one thing and do it well. And I'm like, I am doing one thing. I have Ace Media and we have these 3 brands. And it's like, well, all right, fine. I've been hearing this trope for 15 years. Do one thing and you can scale it. Or I've heard Miles talk about Beckler. I've heard him talk about this like concept of like the rocket ship and how much energy it takes to get it into orbit. But then once it's in orbit, then it's like, holy crap, it takes off. And I'm just like, I love that analogy. And I always thought I was doing it, but I'm not doing it.
Right.
And so, but I think I was fearful of Swim University because I'm like, I don't want to be in the pool business. Like, I just don't like, I've been in the pool business my whole life. And so it's like, I don't maybe wanted to be associated with the pool guy. But then I was like, I started thinking about it. Like once I had made that like, well, what it was like, I made the what if statement to myself. Like, well, what if that was flipped, and I did, what would my life look like after that decision? And that's when things started getting really interesting. I started to notice that anytime somebody would ask me what I did for a living, I would tell them that. Like I would tell them I teach people how to take care of their pools and hot tubs. Because God forbid I told them that I teach people how to make money on the internet. I didn't want to be that. I never brought up Money Lab in public. Not that I was ashamed of it, but I just knew it could be taken the wrong way.
Yeah. I think so. I'm going to interrupt you a little bit. So a couple things. Mm-hmm. One, I don't think that's true. Like no one would give a fuck. They don't even know what you're talking about, man.
You're right.
I think you're
right.
You're caught up in the, and I'm coming at you hard.
I hear
you're caught up in the Twitter world where you think everyone's talking about this all the time. If they're like, I don't understand. You're like, I have a couple websites, and they're like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
You're like, I have a podcast.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, wow, that's amazing. And then you could leave it at that.
You're
like,
right.
Almost no one knows what the fuck you're talking about, and if they do, they're like, oh, that's really cool.
I was
interested.
You're right. I was always proud to talk about Swim University because it's all I've ever known in life.
Yeah.
Right. I could say, you're right. This is identity issues, but it was like, it was something I noticed about myself of like, I was proud to say that I had Swim University, because some people recognize me from it. Like it's big enough to where they're like, oh, we have a hot tub and we saw your stupid face. And I'm like, yeah, that was my,
That's me.
Yeah, it's me.
Cool.
And it's genuine. Like I've been doing it since I was 13. It's the only life I've ever known. It's the only career I've ever actually had. Right. So it's like, yeah. And I'm proud of it. It's not, cause it does not, there's nothing nefarious about it. There's no like, I don't puff up my chest about like, oh, you should be using this type of chlorine. Like there's no anger or resentment or there's nothing. I am just providing a service. And it's just like, it's clean in that way.
It's clean, like you want your pool.
Exactly. Yeah. It's clean like chlorine, baby. So like, yeah, it's just like, so I would, okay. So these were like thoughts that were going through my head as like the what if, and I'm like, okay. And it's like, okay, well, what if all 3 of us were put on this job? Like, how could we scale it? And what would I do differently? And I'm like, well, yeah, I would do this. And it's like, oh, that's really clean. And that's really easy. And no one is going to do that. And I go, that's a pretty good life. Like that's a good life. Mm-hmm. And then I went, well, okay, then what would I do with my time if I don't have like all these other things to do, right? We're heading into the summer and I'm like, there's times where I'm like, I don't want to be in the basement. Like I want to see some sunshine. And so I was like, I would probably like brew more for myself. I would probably barbecue more. I would probably like do lawn work. Like I just want to like be more active as a human being. And I was like, I think, and it just like it, and I stayed on this for I think 2 months. Like I had the decision made, but I was like, let me just play this out like over, because it can't, it's like one of those like, is this just an impulse thought of like, like I'm just burned out or I'm just tired of this, I'm just mad and I just want to leave. And it's like, and every day that went by, I'm like, I feel so relieved. So relieved that I don't have to, that all I have to do is pull content sometimes, and we came up with a system, we came up with this like thought and system and all of this stuff. And I'm like, this feels right. And it feels like a very good long-term position for me. And I went, I think this is going to work. And cool. I can explain the tactical side of that.
Before you do, though, couple things. We're gonna roll an ad here in a second. Pay the bills from Odys Global. So thanks to them. But we'll roll that in a minute. I totally lost my train of thought. So we'll find the.
Was it a question or did anything come through?
It was a question. A couple of people are just asking what you're shutting down. So maybe you could clarify that exactly. And like, our website's going to disappear and shit like that.
Right. So I have a company privately called Ace Media. Under that company, I have brewcabin.com, moneylab.co, and swimuniversity.com. I am not shutting anything down, meaning I'm not taking anything offline. I am just going to not publish consistent content and engage with an audience in both brewcabin.com for the most part. I might still do a little bit here and there because that's my passion, but mostly moneylab.co. And I'm, all of my online business is going to be concentrated over at Swim University.
Perfect. Okay. And I remembered what I was going to say. And then we'll roll the ad, and we're with Matt Giovanisci, founder of Swim University, Money Lab, which will still exist, but no new stuff will be published in the short term.
Yeah.
So what I was going to say is, for me, I coach people sometimes, and you do as well, or at least you used to.
Yeah, I know. Like I'm still here.
And if someone came to you and they're like, "Hey, I got 3 pieces of the business. This side makes 90%, and I'm trying to spend all my time over here," and I've literally had this conversation. Right. You automatically would be like, "Okay, only focus over here."
Yep.
And then you would 80-20 that. You're like, "Hey,
100%.
Where do you make the money here?" And then it's like simplifying a menu, right? You go in, you're like, kill all this stuff, make good chicken sandwiches and fucking waffle fries, and then
beef Chick-fil-A.
Yeah.
You know what?
That's automatically what you would say.
I am taking my own advice, is what I'm doing. Like, and that's what I'm saying. I've heard this advice from Alex, and I'm just like, I hear you. I agree with you, and yet I'm not doing it. So who am I to go ahead and teach entrepreneurship online when I'm not even doing it the way that I would do it if I were somebody else teaching me or somebody else mentoring me? Like, I had somebody say to me, I was running Facebook ads, and she was like, "Well, before you start running Facebook ads, you really need to work on your SEO." And I'm like, "Well, that's where all my traffic comes from." It's like she's like, "Oh, like why are you running Facebook ads?" I'm like, because I don't know what I'm doing. So it's like, how am I, and then I go on my community, I'm like, I'm running Facebook ads, and they're like, teach us about Facebook ads, and I'm like, I'm not qualified to do that because I haven't figured it out yet. I'm still learning. And so, I just want to go back to doing the entrepreneurial work instead of doing it and then having to immediately turn around and go like, here's what I did, and like shrug my shoulders like it,
Yeah. So when we get back from the break here, we're going to ask about what you're going to miss from Money Lab and how are you going to keep from burning out like you have in the past, because that is potentially a real threat. And this is from Odys Global, the source for premium age domains. And we'll roll this and we'll be right back. This is brought to you by Odys Global, the source for premium age domains, so you can kickstart your website with domains that aged well. And the featured domain for today is stretchrecipes.com. With Odys domains, you actually get a cool logo. So this one has a little cherry there. And this is something close to my heart, and that's food. This is related to recipes, right? It's right in there. So Stretch Recipes, kind of an interesting website from back in the day. And we'll look at the Wayback Machine in a second here, but the listed monetization angle is to use the domain to build out an authority site around technology in the catering industry. That is so niche, and I think that's maybe a little too niche. They say you could set up a blog and fill it with articles like restaurant reservation service guides, app-based food delivery recipes, and I think that's just so narrow. So I would go maybe like a little more generic with recipes in general and just kind of lean into the technology side of apps that are related to food. These could be like calorie tracking apps and things related to recipes in general and health in general. So, like I said, we'll hop over to the Wayback Machine, and I'm going to read this little section here. It's kind of small, but Stretch Recipes is on a mission to help everyone eat better and save more by offering cooking experience memberships and technology solutions, which sounds like a weird sentence and a weird business model altogether. But it says to sign up to test our first app Stretch before 2015. Obviously, this has been around for a little while. And it really just kind of seems weird. I think you can make it about reviews of like cooking experience memberships, right? So you think like what is it called? There's like Blue Apron. There's is it Fresh something? I forget the name of it. They're not sponsoring me, so I don't know. But anyway, the point is you could do reviews and maybe like cook those meals and have like the recipes that you are cooking when you get those prepared meals, that sort of thing. So I would lean into that, and they have very good referral programs if you want to check out some of the other snapshots out there. It spans from 2014 all the way until some, recent years here. But the early days were mostly around this Austin-based kind of technology food-related company. But let's hop over to Ahrefs and take a look here. We see it's a domain rating of 11. There's 320 referring domains, and there are some pretty amazing referring domains. As I mentioned, it's kind of in the technology/food area. So there's TechCrunch, there's Crunchbase, there's some site I don't know. There's another one called Spicy Perspective. And then we have Built in Austin, Austin Monthly, Amber Grants for Women, Instant Checkmate, Brooklyn Supper, Food Tech Connect, and so on. So there's a lot of very high DR links going to the site, which of course that's super helpful. The point is, I think you have some flexibility. And I know a lot of people do have food sites and they have recipe sites. So if you actually already have a kitchen or food related site, this could be one where you 301 redirect it to a specific silo, perhaps around technology or, prepared food box recipe companies like Blue Apron or Freshbox. Anyway, check this one out. If you join using my affiliate link, you can get $100 into your account. And if you make a purchase, I might earn a commission. And if this domain does not seem interesting to you, they have a wonderful filtering mechanism so that you can find a domain that does work for you, maybe in a specific niche, which you can search for very easily and see what's out there. All right, we're back with Matt Giovanisci, and thanks a lot to Odys Global out there. So we're talking with Matt about shutting down a successful six-figure business for he has reasons, but a lot of people would be like, hey, couldn't you just
sell it or
sell it? Yeah, someone asked why wouldn't you sell it?
It's way too tied to my personal name would not feel comfortable with that.
And if someone offered you enough, would you be like, hey, I would sell it? Because some people don't actually care. And they're like, hey, this is good content on here. There's some assets. And I would take it. So you would keep it.
Yeah. Because, one, I know you never know. Right. And two, I just don't. That's a little bit too, I already don't feel good about the being associated with the industry right this moment, and I would feel really bad if I sold it and then it looked like whoever bought it did something shitty with it, and now my name's permanently attached to it. Like, people still email me about Roasty, and I've sold that like 5 years ago, and it's like my name's still on it, my face is still on the YouTube videos, so it's like, but he just didn't screw it up, so it's like, I don't care, but if he switched it to like, I don't know, all like coffee crypto, then I'd be like, dude, please take my stuff off, like take my name and stuff off this. I don't want to be associated with it, but yeah.
Is there coffee crypto now? Is that a thing?
Oh yeah, I don't know if that's true, but Beancoin.
So you're gonna leave the content up, so videos will stay up, the blog posts will stay up.
Yeah.
And what are you gonna miss though? What are you gonna miss about this part of the business?
I'm going to miss the community part of it. Which is like the back end of it. Some of the, like, it's mostly about the other people. Like, it's the camaraderie that I, had with like friends who, like you teach this stuff, Miles teaches this stuff. It's not that we can't, I'm still around and I'm still going to talk about business like in a public way because I still run one, but I'm just not going to profit off of that. So, I guess I'm not really going to miss all that much because I don't feel like I'm actually 100% pulling out of like, I'm done, I'm out of here. Like, don't, you'll never see me online again. It's like, no, I'm here. I'm just taking, again, like my own advice of being like, wow, you have too many things. Focus on this, dude. Like, this is clearly making 10 times more than your other businesses. Like, why are you wasting your time over here when you could scale this like a beast, Not even scale it. Just like continue to capitalize off of it for like your entire life and be completely fine, So like, yeah, I don't think I'm going to miss much because I don't think I'm 100% leaving. If anything, I'm happy that I don't have as much work to do and I don't have to switch gears all the time, or like I get very like what I'm not going to miss is the anxiety of not publishing something for a while. Like I feel that all the time where I'm like, I haven't sent an email out in a while, or like I haven't posted a tweet in a minute, or like I haven't, did a challenge on my blog in a long time. So like I get anxiety about that, and then it's like, oh, okay, well, I have to carve out space for that. And the other thing too is I used to feel like I couldn't. So I have a brewery in my home, and it's my personal, like, it's the thing I love to do the most. And I always told myself, and it was like, you don't get to brew because that's fun. You have to work first and then brew, And so I would always relegate brewing to the weekends, but then that's when everyone's off and they're like, you want to hang out? I'm like, yeah, I was going to brew today, but I guess I'd rather hang out. And so like, yeah, so because I had so many things to do and so many like irons in the fire that I was like, oh, I have to work. I have to work.
Mm-hmm.
I have 3 things going on. But now I'm like, oh, I have a job. It's clearly defined. When I finish that, I could finish it all on a Monday, and I'm like, I did what I was supposed to do, and so like, I could take off a week and not feel that anxiety because I did my work.
How long have you been working for yourself?
Full time?
Yeah,
2011.
Okay. Why do you still feel that pressure? You made your own job.
Yeah.
So why do you feel the pressure to work? Did you grow up Catholic or something?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Why do I feel the pressure to? Well, okay. 2 things. One, I like it, so it's not work to me. It's like it doesn't feel like a slog. It feels fun.
Hold on, I'll interrupt. You said you get anxiety. So
yeah, very.
It's
super mild,
but it's fun. But you feel the pressure though. So like I'm like you feel you wouldn't let yourself do fun stuff, but then you just said the work, the work that you have. It's fun. So this doesn't make sense.
Yes, you're right. Brewing is work too, right? It's an all-day event, and it doesn't even end there. It's like you're taking care of this fermenter, and it's like, but at the end of it, it's really only for you, right? So I like physicality of working, but I felt like in order to keep things afloat, especially Money Lab is not an evergreen type of business. Like there's always things changing, and so I constantly felt like I had to schedule more tweets or just to keep the money rolling in. Like it just felt like a hamster wheel. And then obviously you start a community, and it's like, well, the community is not going to thrive without you posting multiple things a week. So I started to build the engine of like, oh, we're going to be consistent content forever, you know, by doing the video podcast in the studio in the basement, by scheduling, you know, 50 tweets a week, by, you know, but then like constantly updating, you know, course material because shit's always changing, and like, you know, so yeah, there was like this I had to work or else the money stopped. Mm-hmm. Whereas that is not the case at Swim University. So I don't feel the pressure there as much because it's seasonal and the content's there and it's evergreen, whereas Money Lab wasn't that.
Got it. Okay, so you alluded earlier to like getting burned out or bored when you have focused. It's too much on one thing for too long. So what's in place now to keep you and prevent that boredom so that you'll stay focused? And then, you know, the thing is, like I said, a few months ago, you were like, I'm going all in, I'm building the studio, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And you like turned on a dime, which is another question coming up. Yeah. But like, yeah, what are you doing to prevent this issue?
It was a shift in, all right, there was a couple of things that like I noticed. Again, this goes back to Alex Hormozi. Kind of like Alex Hormozi messed me up. Kevin from Epic Garden messed me up a little bit, all in good ways. But sort of like just kept honing in on like this idea of like doing one thing. Doing boring work for a long period of time is how you grow a business, and it's not fun. Like it just isn't. And I hated that. Anytime it got boring and I had to do boring work, I would switch. I would switch to something and get that new excitement. Starting Money Lab, starting Brew Cabin, doing a ridiculous video, or doing like these individual projects, you know, over 3 different brands, because I felt, and Money Lab was built on this premise that like everything is a project. Nothing is like a consistent, like, oh, let's just put out a YouTube video every single week. Because guess what, Matt, you're going to get bored of that and you're going to want to do something else. And so I baked it into the structure of Money Lab to allow me to have those like constantly new things to work on. So and I'm not burned out on it, and I'm not bored by that work. So I went, okay, hold on a second. If it's true that business is just a series of boring events, you know, that lead up to, you know, that just create this like growth curve, I'm like, well, then I need something else. It can't be business, right? It can't be the thing that like excites me as a human being. So I started to like, I have this book, it was about brewing. It was about sour beers. And
what's the book?
American Sour Beers by Michael Tonsmeyer. And I put it on my nightstand, and I'm like, I bought the book, you know, probably a couple of years ago, planning on reading it, never did, picked it up. And every night I would read until I felt bored, right? I would just like read enough. And then like I woke up, or I went to bed one day and I picked up the book, and I'm like, oh, that's it. I'm done. I read the book. And I was like, that felt like easy because I didn't push myself. And then I've been losing weight because I'm having a wedding, and I'm like, well, I always used to like tackle weight loss and like health, like physical health stuff in like 30-day
projects, which is the wrong way to do it.
Right. Challenges to myself. Like, oh, I'm going to work out every single day, and I'm going to push myself. I'm going to sweat bullets. And I'm like, you know, and then of course you know, it's exciting then to start. And then you are like, okay, I can't sustain that. Like that's too much. And so that's the same advice I was getting with weight loss, which is like, this is not, and you've heard this. It's not new. it's a lifestyle change, you know? And I'm like, fuck that. I don't know. I need to lose weight like tomorrow. And it's like, no, that's not how it's going to happen. Like, it's going to be like, it takes you a long time to gain weight. And so it takes you a long time to lose weight. And I'm like, well, okay, if I approach this the same way I approach business, which is like, just do a little bit every day, but like pretend like it never ends. There's no goals. There's no finish line. I'm like, that's kind of relieving because then there's nothing to work towards. It's just work for the sake of it. And I'm like, oh, okay. So, wow. Then what else can I do with my time? All right, let's work on the backyard. You know, we got a huge backyard and I want to start, you know, gardening. I want to start a sour beer project. I want to start gardening specifically to make beer with that stuff, you know, and it's like, okay, I have other things to do. Again, something that is like long-term caretaking. There's no goal, you know, right. Like we're not going to like have all the hops for my whole life in one season. It's like, no, I got to keep doing this forever. And I kind of feel like burnout is that. It's when you run really fast, really hard because you're trying to just get to this place where you think you'll be happy. And then you get there, you're not happy, and you're tired as all hell. Yeah. And so like that was constantly what I was doing, whether it was starting new businesses or working on projects within those businesses to like push myself to being like, oh, we're gonna make a shitload of money if we get to this, or we're gonna do, you know, like, oh, we're gonna launch this thing, or like, oh, I'm gonna start this like, I don't know, new project within the business. And it was just like, this is tiring because it's the constant starting and stopping. And so I have found, the long answer to this, you know, to your question is like, I have found other areas of my life that are fulfilling that. But I'm also completely changing as I approach 40 how the rest of my life is going to be, which is live at, you know, don't live hard, just live easy, which is like, just do little things. Just do things like, for weight loss and stuff, I'm like, some days I don't feel like lifting weights, and some days I don't feel like running. Other days, kind of have the energy to do it, and I kind of want to do it. And so letting myself ebb and flow with those feelings instead of going like, don't, you know, it's like the Goggins, you know, mentality of like, just go do it, just put your shoes on and like, just do it, stop being a puss. You know, it's like,
don't sleep. It's like, dude,
you'll sleep when you're dead. I'm like, I like sleeping, you know, like, or like, you know, it's not like I'm having an easier life. It's just that there's this idea that like, I'm going to have a massive business. I have one now, and I'm going to have one later because I'm going to continue to do the little things over the course of the boring, slow, you know, work. Because like, you know, like so university, I'm never gonna have a viral moment. You know, it's like it's just pool care, you know?
Right.
So I'm never, you know, I can't chase vanity metrics. There's nothing to chase. I can't chase like huge sales days besides in the summer. And it's like, okay, but then it resets every year. It's like, okay, 2024 might be not as good because the weather is terrible or like whatever. But it's like, okay, as long as we do this thing over and over and over again forever without burning out, yeah, it's like it's gonna work.
So, and I'll try to summarize a little bit there. So it was around like how to not burn out. So you just made it sustainable. So your analogy was, what a long fucking answer.
I know, sorry.
You spun a tale for us, and then I was like, what was the question even? So basically,
what do you say?
Your perfect analogy was like dieting, and it's like, crash diets could work on the short term, but you really need a sustainable.
You get it all back.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Or working out. And I'm like a really good example because I usually don't work out that hard.
Yeah.
But I'm extremely consistent, and I have been for a really long time.
Right.
And I'm in pretty good shape. Not the greatest shape. People get out. I can't even fucking run because I hurt my ankle, you know, or Achilles. We both got the same issue. But cardio-wise, I'm in good shape. My weight's in the right spot. And like I'm consistent. And I probably only work out hard like 1 day per week. Max. Yeah. That's it. Yeah. And I eat shitty sometimes. Like we were at a brewery.
You come, but like that's the thing about even weight loss too. It's like, and it's such a good like analogy for this, which is like, yeah, like I used to get really bummed out if I would like be really good all week, and then I'm like, I want a beer tonight, and then I would just over drink, and then I would eat like shit, and I'd wake up the next day and I'm like, I hate myself. I fucked it all up. And instead now I go, get back on it.
Yeah.
Just get back to it. Like it's you fucked it up a little bit. Like, but like it's not again, there's no goal, right? Even though I'm getting married and it's like, oh, it'd be great to be a specific weight when I'm on that day. But I'm not going to beat myself up for not being on, as long as I'm consistently working towards, I want my life to look and feel like this, and I'm going to work to get there, and it may take me for another 40 years. But by the time I'm 80, I'm going to be fit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, cool, but like maybe not. Maybe it'll be earlier than that. And then maybe, again, once you get there, you have to sustain that. Like, it's not like you get there and you're like, cool, I can eat whatever I want now. I can go back to like, cake every day. It's like, no, that's not how it works. And so same thing with business. It's like, once you get like, you have everyone talks about those big sales days and it's like, okay, now it gets hard. It's like, oh, I had a $10,000 launch. Okay, try to do that again. Like, try to do that next month. People don't. And then they burn out and they stop because we work so hard for this product launch. And then it's like, oh, no, now the real work begins, which is long, slow, boring, consistent output.
It is, yeah. And I think about some of my launches and, you sold, well, you have a lot of stuff that you've sold.
Yeah.
But I do launches. Yeah. So it's like
you do like launch cycles. Yeah.
And the feedback loop is extremely long. So it took me like, whatever, 2 years to optimize that.
Right.
So like when you tell someone that, they're like, oh fuck, I can't. Like I have some friends, they like launched a course and they were like, yeah, I'm just gonna throw in the autoresponder and then go from there. I'm like, you didn't even test anything.
No.
You tested nothing. You didn't optimize anything, and now you're automating like inefficiency. And then it multiplies the
and then it gets
mistake.
Worse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like, it's not selling that well. I'm like, no shit, you did zero work on it. It takes a really long time. Boring work. Changing one thing, sending out an email like 30,000 times, and then you're like, okay, that didn't work.
But also too, like if I'm not a real big metrics person, like I'm not a good CRO, but I would say that like I always just lean back on, am I being ridiculously helpful? Like if I'm not, if I'm just feeling like salesy, I go, all right, let me try another email where I'm like, I'm gonna help like so hard on this.
Yeah.
And then I do, and I'm like, wow, that really worked. Okay, like I know what works. Being ridiculously helpful and like generous with your information and knowledge and time.
Yeah.
And then like those usually work out. And if they don't, like over time, you'll just keep, like you don't have to create the best autoresponder in like a week. Like you can set it up and then remember that autoresponder will evolve forever. And this is where I think, I don't want to generalize, but what I've learned is like, this is a forever game. It's not a sprint to 1 million subscribers on YouTube, right? It's like, okay, you're at 1 million. I don't know, you have like 40, 50 more years left in your life. Like, can you do that again for the rest of your life? And it's like, oh no, I just trying to get to 1 million. And it's like, well, now the real work begins, which is like, okay, cool. I'm all about the sprint in the early days. It's really tough to like downshift and go. It's like, it's like the all that energy of getting the rocket into orbit. It's like, no, okay, now you can choose. Like you can keep going and pressing the like, I don't know, they have throttles or whatever they have in the spaceships. They like keep really going. But like, even if you just go a little bit and you just like little spurts, you go and you just keep gaining more and more momentum as you go, and you'll get to where you want to get someday. And as it's like it's really hard to like chase virality, on the internet and like all of these other things when it's just like I just want to, it's like I can get excited now about building I'll say this because this is kind of also it fed into my decision. 2 years ago at Swim University, I decided, privately within the community to try to sell my own physical products. And I was totally against this idea. I was like, I'm never going to be a physical product business. But I had somebody in the community who basically said, yeah, but if you did, like, it would be huge because you've done the hardest part, which is build an audience. And I was like, yeah, but I don't know how to do it and I don't want to learn. And he walked me through it. Didn't take long. Put me in touch with the right people. And I launched a product within 2 to 3 months of that initial conversation. Everybody wanted to learn from me. And I'm like, I can't teach you because I got lucky. Someone told me I would be good at this, wanted to help me against my will, and then put me in touch with a person who could source products for me. And I'm like, this was really easy. And I put $5,000 of capital out of pocket, which was incredibly affordable. Mm-hmm. And I sent it out an email and I sold out all my stuff. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute. Hold on a second. And like, I was like, no, this felt like a real business. Like I'm holding the things in my hands. And Money Lab would have never been that.
Yeah.
You know, Brew Cabin maybe, but like, I'm like, oh, I really like this physical. I'm refraining from calling it a real business, but privately I call it a real business.
Yeah.
Because it's like I have things to sell to people, not just digital assets.
Yeah. And I was going to say a couple things. One, we got some stuff from the chat here,
cool.
so I'm gonna read those out.
Please.
But also, and I'm not even gonna let you respond to my quip back at you. But like, that's your own mental like cage that you've trapped yourself in, because there are some like online businesses that pop up and disappear. It's like lack of consistency.
Yeah.
Maybe people just get excited, whatever. But we've been running our businesses for like, over a decade, right?
Yeah.
Each of us have making like really good money.
Yeah.
And, those are real businesses. Even if we like strip away and people are like, oh, this kind of bullshit. It's like, we have assets.
Totally.
So yeah, it's your own mental cage.
100%.
Okay. So Waylon asks about Carbonate, your WordPress theme. Will that stay active and available?
No.
Okay. So no. So people,
get
if
it,
you
get
want
it while you get it while you can.
Yeah. Use my affiliate link, folks. I think it's nichesiteproject.com/carbonate. Get it while it's hot. All right. And a lot of people are leaving great comments here. And I encourage you, if you hear something that you have resonated with, let us know. John says, you got it with the little things. The best investment I made was a walking pad and a standing desk. I walked 10,000 steps while working Monday through Friday and have lost 25 pounds.
Yeah.
Paula from Paula's Picks. Do you know Paula?
Yeah.
Okay. Paula says, she's been in here a ton. I won't be able to hit everything, but so much of success is due to mindset, and the little wins are sometimes overshadowed. Benno says, I want to see Matt jacked. So
keep
working out.
Yeah.
You look like I think you could put on a ton of muscle.
Like, I could. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Like I don't eat enough. Like I love to eat, but I don't work out hard enough. That's the
I
thing.
don't like working out hard. I thought, I was like, oh, wouldn't it be like, because I think about the jack thing and I'm like, one, I could walk into a room, no one could ask me anything. I just look like a regular white guy.
Yeah.
Right. And so they're like, but if you ask me a question, it's like, oh wow, he runs a business, like he's an interesting person. But if I walked in jacked, I am visibly an interesting, maybe interesting. Like you'd be like, dude, like, I don't know. It's like you're wearing your like accomplishment on your body, and I can't think of any other like way of like wearing your like. It's like if you were like an Olympic medalist and like everywhere you went, you just wore your medals. You're like, oh, that guy's a douche, But if you just were jacked, you're like, wow, you're a committed, like you're a guy or you're a person that does like that's good at something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Something to think about. But no, I'll never do that. I don't like it enough.
It's too much work.
I also think like I don't want to lift weights. I've gone back and forth on a like gym thing. Like I don't want to be a gym person.
Yeah.
I want to gain muscle and lose weight by doing productive activities that benefit not just my body but others. So like
Okay.
building something or digging or like, I don't know, like productive work. So I feel way better than like if I just went downstairs in silence and went, ow, and then,
Yeah,
you know what I
yeah.
mean? Like I feel,
I don't know. Well, and I grew up going to like the YMCA.
yeah.
And really, I played basketball, like just pickup
That,
games when I
so
was
that's
a kid.
fun though. Yeah. That
So-
feels good. That feels like a good
So
thing.
it was like community and integrated, and I like started lifting weights some, and I'm not like huge into lifting weights, but I actually enjoy like getting out of the office,
Yeah.
walking to the gym. I may see a couple people, whatever. But I mean, I'm not trying to convince you. I'm just like, oh,
No,
somehow I found like a
Yeah,
system that works.
what I found is like if I do housework and it's like I lift things or even brewing sometimes, if I don't drink during it, which I try not to.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, you're lifting buckets. Like it's again slow over time. But like right
Yeah.
now, I'm like rebuilding my entire pond by myself, and it's like lifting heavy rocks and digging holes. And I'm like,
Yeah.
all right, this is gonna take me a month, and that's like a good month of like a workout. You know what I mean?
Dude, I did it's 15 tons in my front yard. I did all that myself.
You did see, yeah, exactly.
And it was a great workout. I did
Right.
it like in the dead of summer. It was so hot, man.
Yeah,
It was cool. My neighbors thought I was nuts, but it was
it's
it was
rewarding.
worth it.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so couple other things
Yeah.
here in our conversation, and I kind of alluded to it. You're on Twitter a lot. You mentioned you didn't want to be associated with the industry because it's kind of sleazy. And when I talk about it, I'm like, hey, you know what? I'm in the make money online area, which can be, scammy and sleazy, but I'm like, I'm doing it in a professional way. That's my background.
Yep.
It seems to work. And I don't take any offense to if anyone is wondering, like you're degrading my industry.
I don't want to do that. And I'm
Yeah.
not talking about our crew. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like, I'm talking about like,
Scammer. Yeah.
like, I'm talking about like, cause it's like,
Okay, so the
Anyway.
the real question is, why do you care what the other people thought? Because I'm just like,
Yeah.
I largely, this is to a detriment to my YouTube channel, but I kind of peruse the comments, but I don't reply back. And there's some good stuff in there, and I will do research, but I'm not active on Twitter or other social media. I'm in a little bit of a vacuum, and I think it
Yeah.
helps me create
Oh,
and
for sure.
stay sane. So
uh-huh.
why do you give a fuck?
It's unfortunately how I am. Not that can't be changed. It can be, and I've been would love to change, which is like getting off of Twitter is helpful. Like I've kind of like isolated myself in this pursuit. Like I do care what people think, even anonymous people.
Those are the worst people.
I know. I've tried so hard to not take things personally. Like even when I worked at a job and like my boss would just be a little angry at me, I would just dwell on it forever. And I'm like, I never want to disappoint anybody. It's just I think I'm just like I feel like a servant to others, and I always want to do a great job. And so whenever I feel like I'm not, it's like a personal affront, and I never blame the other person. I always blame myself. Like I am always to blame first before others, and it's helped me in relationship building because like I never assume anyone's out to get me or anyone's out to harm me. I always go, what did I do to make them have that reaction or whatever? Which has forced me as a person to grow, right? It's like I've some comments I go, maybe they're right, and maybe I need to look at myself and think about it a little harder, which has happened a few times, and I'm like, it's been a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's also like it hurts, but if it's done anything, it's put me back into the place where I like it. No one's pushed me out. It's just like I kind of like sat there and like thought about it, and I'm like, yeah, I kind of feel better over here as a person, and it's so relaxing, and over here I kind of feel like there's this weird tension, and I can't let go of it because my face is on it, and I'm like, it's me, and so I wish I had a better answer, but the truth is that it affects me, and I can't help it now. It's really hard. I would love to, and I don't want to go to therapy for it, although I'd be happy to. But I actually think it has served me well in a lot of areas and has not served me well like on Twitter. Like it's terrible there, but like in personal, aspects, I'm like, oh, I'm glad I'm like that a little bit, because it's like I never want to make someone angry, or I never want to like say the wrong thing, or I always want to constantly better myself. And as a as a personal growth tactic, it's helpful as long as it can be managed.
And I think so. A couple things. One, as you were talking, I realized, hey, I look at comments occasionally, and if there's something in there that's critical, that's great.
Yes.
If I could do something with it,
Yes.
and I'm like, I will take action, and I'm like, hey, thanks for letting me know. Like, no, like I'm admitting, like, hey, I can improve, right? Which everyone can improve.
Sure.
So I don't like completely ignore it, but if it's just like a lot of noise. And I think what you're describing, you were like in personal relationships, it can be good because you're conscientious of other people, you're self-aware.
Yeah.
However, when you scale it to social media, you cannot.
It's hard to control.
You can't filter it the same
No.
way.
And I can't choose to like, I could block people, which I've done, but it's like, maybe they have a point. It's like I always got to look at it like maybe they're right. And so think about it. Are they right? No, I still think they're an asshole. So like block, but if and I very rarely did that, but it's it's the same. I have the same issue with like selling out. As someone who tried to be a musician for a long time, that word has always kind of haunted me. As a somebody who considers themselves a creative first and a business person last. Like I've always wanted to I will just say the word creator because I don't want to say artist or whatever, but I always felt like that, like a creative type.
Mm-hmm.
And so like business is scary, like selling out and like making money from your craft is like not cool. Right.
And I was going to ask you about that because I know, some of our pre-interview chat was around that. And I guess I'm probably an engineer first and then business, but now I'm like less engineering. I do approach things with like a problem solving idea.
Yeah.
But like as far as the art and selling out, I was like, I know that's something deep in you, and it probably helps you create and do a really good job. And you want to do the best that you can do. And I've like, had a perfectionist, engineering, detail oriented, all that. And then I've gotten away from it. And I'm just like, you know what? I'm coasting. And I think you and I have had enough conversations. Like I'm phoning in a lot of shit, Yeah.
Yeah. Man, there's so many phrases, that I'm like trying to live by now. I realize like I am not a famous artist and I am not going to be, right? And I learned that a long time ago, right? Where I was like, I'm kind of okay being the pool guy. You know what I mean? Like it's not, and I can be the top fish in the smallest pond, and I'm totally happy doing that. And it's very easy for me to ascend there because again, small pond. So like when I do homebrewing videos, like they are very good compared to the rest. And same with pool videos. Like I did a pool rap video, like no one's ever done that before. And it's like, oh, this is actually good comparatively. You know what I mean? Like, am I a rapper? No. Am I a, movie maker? No. But compared to the small pond I'm in, yeah. And so I've always been able to, and I'm comfortable being there. The business side of it, though, my dad used to say musicians make terrible business people, and I hated that because I was like, I want to be a musician, but I can't be a musician if I'm not getting paid. Like I don't want to be a starving artist, because I like money and I like living with money, and I like not having that stress more than I like being an artist. And so I was like, all right, I'm gonna figure out money. At the same time, I'm going to continue being an artsy person, or a creative person. So I've always been like, I care more about the creativity. I care more about like, I'm such a vivacious learner in like the creative arts, and then business I am, but to a lesser extent. You know what I mean? And I'm willing to like not make smart business moves because of like certain things. You know, like I like for the longest time, and we're still doing it. Like I don't put ads on my site, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, why? And I'm like, is it stupid? Yes, but I can't not do it. Like I can't do it. It's just like not going to happen. So like, you know, I have to be good at other parts. Like it's like, okay, you're not going to do that. Fine. Then you better get good at these other things and to replace that. And so that's like, you know, physical products and creating courses and being really good at those things, and not even like CRO good, just like I did it and I put it out there, and I will slowly get better over time, and I will slowly get pieces of information, and I will slowly put those things into action. But,
got it.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, and I think we're gonna wrap up here, and I think that's a pretty good spot to end. I'll kick it back to you in a second to let people know where you could find him or find you. And the thing I was gonna say is like I'm similar. Like we have a lot of parallels, but it's like a different priority. So you mentioned, you know, you're willing to sacrifice the bottom line for the creativity. And what I'm doing, I'm sacrificing lifestyle, or I'm getting lifestyle back in extra time. So I'm doing other things and having a lot more free time instead of like scaling and growing the business and doing more and more and more. I was like, I don't want to do more and more and more.
No,
that's like there's always someone ahead of you. So it's like the same sacrifice, but like different priority.
I will say this because I wanted to talk about the tactical side of what I'm currently doing at Swim University. I am in a position to quit these other things because that thing is doing so well. And we are in the world of pool and hot tub content, we are one of the top fish in the small pond, right? All I have to do is maintain my position there. And that job is really easy, which is just create content every week. Mm-hmm. It's not that difficult to do. And what we're doing currently is like we have a team member doing customer service. We have a team member doing 3 reels a week. We have a team member doing videos. We have a team member doing a blog post once a week. We have a team member doing, scheduling emails. Now, I said all these team members, some of them are the same job. It's 3 people. So like, but that's it. If we do that, that's a lot of content. Like that's an insane amount of content, right? But 3 people doing one thing. And to me, I think like if you just keep making content like that, you just keep growing. And you just little by little. But then like the company that has like a real product and they're trying to grow, how it's going to take them like 10 to 15 years to get where I am already. And so what are they probably going to do? You know what I mean? So I'm like waiting for that day where they're like, we could start now and try to beat these guys or absorb.
Yep.
Which I'm not against, but also like if we just keep going, it's the thing no one's going to do, right? They're going to keep spending their money on ads and they're going to keep doing this stuff, and we're going to keep organically growing on all these platforms and collecting the emails, and one day it'll be like, whoa, holy shit. It's like Mr. Beast, like spent, however many years like building a massive audience only to be like, oh, we have chocolate now. And it's like, what? Like, okay. And it's like, it's just ridiculously like profitable. So that's the like tactic essentially that I'm leaning in towards for the rest of my life.
The rest of your life. It's a really long time. Okay.
Really long time.
If people want to hear more from Matt, let us know in the comments. Let us know in the chat. Like the video, all that stuff. Shoot me an email. I sent this out before. Mm-hmm. And Matt, where can people find you?
I'm still on Twitter.
On Twitter. Okay. Perfect.
I'm on Twitter.
Cool. We'll link it up. What is it you're about to say?
Oh, at Matt Giovanisci.
Perfect. Name. Easy to spell.
Yeah.
We'll link it up and people can check it out. Thanks, Matt. It's always fun to catch up.
Appreciate it.